Lord, I know you're not supposed to pray for patience, and I've never prayed for patience, but this is Curtis we're talking about. And then the last part I heard her talking about, Lord, I'm not going to pray for strength, because if you give me strength, I'm going to strangle him to death. So at that point, I figured I better get on out there and let her finish talking with the Lord. But when I walked outside, standing by my truck, and I still had the radio on, Gary, stand up a minute. Here was this guy from the electric company. His truck had pulled up, and I knew I was in kind of trouble. The guy, I don't know how big he was, but anytime they're in trouble and kids go in their principal's office, they always look a whole lot bigger than you are. So I was trying to explain to him what was going on. He asked what happened, and first thing I said, hey, I'm Curtis Pettit, pastor of Walterboro Baptist Church. How you doing? What you here for? What is here for? I was trying to explain to him what was going on, and all of a sudden this song comes across the radio. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And it's hard, even when you're telling the truth, it's hard to tell the truth and make it sound like the truth, because that story's coming on, that song's coming on. Thank you, Gary, I appreciate that. And I started talking to him and trying to get in the middle of my story. About that time the phone rings. So I pick it up, stand back a second. I said, excuse me just a second, I'm Curtis Pettit, pastor of Walterboro Baptist Church. Hey, Joyce. That's Joyce Collins, that's my piano player. I won't be in just a minute. Hey, Joyce, what you calling for? You got power. Joyce, this ain't a good time. You don't need lights anyway, it's daytime. I'll call you back. But anyway, it appeared that other than just a couple houses, I'd knocked off power on our street and somebody else's street over there, and Joyce trying to see one, I'm not proud on hers. But the main thing, like I said, is nobody got hurt. Power eventually got cut on after a few hours. And Pam didn't get the strength. Let me talk about something else now. I know I complain about this every time I get my one day a year. And it's got to do with the choir. I know Steve, where's Steve at? Man, he did a beautiful job with that song back there, didn't he? Steve is no longer our music director because he says he's doing ministry by himself. Doing music ministry in other churches, and that's great. But there's another part of that Steve's leaving out. Back then, I was trying to talk to Steve about being in the choir. Steve would come up with all kinds of little excuses. Steve, I'm sorry, but they were just excuses. I told him, I said, Steve, I'll cut this off. He said, no, we can't take that chance. I said, Steve, we'll get Paul one of those back there to cut the power off. He said, no, I can't take that chance. He said, I got an idea. And well, it's kind of hard to explain. George, if you don't mind, give me a second to get a song book. He wanted me to lip sync and just stand back there with your phone book in front of my face. And I said, Steve, people's not going to know back there. He said, Curtis, that's the whole idea. Just turn to page 330. I think it's Amazing Grace, and just give me a second to get my little phone book, my little song book back here. And I'll show you what Steve wanted me to do. Now, as Paul Harvey would say, that's the rest of the story. Seriously, we need to get a little serious here. I brought something I want to talk about as far as just read to you about dedication, as far as dedicated to your work. This is something that amazed me when I read it. I didn't know about it, and I'm sure so many other people have heard about it. It talks about the guards that manned the tomb of the unknown soldier. And I was amazed by this. Some of you, like I said, I'm sure have already heard it. Just bear with me a couple of minutes. They talk about the steps. How many steps do these guards take in front of the tombs? And it was 21 steps. And of course, we allude to the 21 gun salute. And how long does he have to hesitate before he does an about face and go back the other direction? Also, it was 21 seconds. 21 gun salute. We got to the point that talks about why are his gloves wet. These gloves are always wet on these guards, and that's because they don't lose a grip on the guns. Does he carry his rifle on the same shoulder all the time? No, he always turns the rifle away from the tomb. After his march across the path, he executed an about face and moves the rifle to the other side while he's marching the other direction. How often are the guards changed? Guards change every 30 minutes, 24 hours a day, 365 years a year. 365 days a year, regardless of the weather. These guards have to be between 5'10" and 6'2". Their size cannot exceed 30 inches. They must commit 2 years of their life to the tomb, live in a barracks underneath the tomb. They cannot drink any alcohol on or off duty for the rest of their lives. They cannot swear in public for the rest of their lives. They cannot disgrace the uniform that they're wearing during their service. After 2 years, the guard is given a wreath pin that is worn on their lapel, signifying they serve as guard of the tomb. There are only 400 presently worn. The guard must obey these rules for the rest of their lives and give up their tomb. Their shoes, of course, are made of very thick soles to protect them from the heat and the elements. There are no wrinkles, folds, or lint on the uniform. Guards dress for duty in front of a full-length mirror. The first 6 months of duty, a guard cannot talk to anyone. He can't watch TV. Their whole time is spent studying the 175 notable people that are laid to rest in Arlington National Cemetery. Not only that, but the guard must memorize who they are and where they are interred. Every guard spends 5 hours a day just getting his uniform ready to go up there for that 30 minutes, 5 hours a day. Back when, I think it was Hurricane Isabel, the members were asked not to go out there because of the weather, because of the hurricane being so bad, and they turned down and of course said no sir. They were soaked to the skin, marching in pelting rain, but still they said their assignment was to guard that tomb, and that's what they did. The guarding the tomb, that they said, was just not an assignment. It's the highest honor that any could be afforded to any service person. This tomb has been patrolled continuously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week since 1930, regardless of the weather. That's not dedication. I think Joe Jones got up here just a month ago on Sunday and spoke about passion. Passion for Christians, passion that Christians should have. That right there is a passion. There was a story one time about a Marine that went to, he was dressed in his dress uniform, just like that young man over there in that first picture. Went to the hospital to visit somebody, and as he exited the floor he was on, coming out the elevator, the nurse grabbed him by his hand and said, he's in this room. They led him to a room. But when he went to the room, the older gentleman in there, the lights were dim, it was getting late. He said, son, I'm glad you make it. I didn't think you would come to see me. He was dying. But the Marine sat down next to him and put his hand in his and held his hand. 3 hours later, the nurse came back to check on him to see if the gentleman, the Marine, needed a pillow or anything, and he said, no ma'am, I'm fine, but just like he did when he came out the elevator. He wasn't tired. When that morning approached and the light was breaking through the window, the nurse went back and the older gentleman had died, and the Marine was still holding his hand.